Welcome back. My guest on the program this evening is the Shadow Minister for Government Services, Building Industry and Information and Communication Technology, Ros Bates. Ros, your CV is pretty impressive. The Prime Minister's Centenary of Federation Medal, the Royal Australian College of Nursing's Distinguished Service Award and the Telstra Businesswoman of the Year. Working your way through your career, receiving these accolades, working with politicians to make changes, when was it that you actually realised that there was a possibility of a career in politics and that you could actually change things from the top end down rather than working to change them from the bottom up?
Sure, look, I was pretty privileged in those years to work with people like John Howard and Tony Abbott, Brendan Nelson, Nick Minchin, Alexander Downer, because all of the funding as a health advocate that I received for these families with rare and fatal genetic conditions were all at a cabinet level. So I met some pretty inspiring people on the Conservative side of politics, and I guess I made the decision that I could continue influencing from the outside so that the ministers actually knew what health issues were really out there, and especially from the coalface, or I could throw my hat in the ring and hopefully make a difference from the inside.
Yeah. I mean, and I guess that is often the problem, is actually getting the message across to the right person. And not just that, but in the right way.
Well, absolutely, and that's one of the things that I used to find when you would go and talk to ministers or even to their advisors, that they may not necessarily have been talking to the people at the coalface who could give them the right direction to take their policy.
Now, you ran first in 2000 election, but in the 2006 election, but you weren't successful. How did you find that experience?
I thoroughly enjoyed it. I am a real grassroots campaigner. In fact, I'm sure if you talk to anybody in my electorate in Mudgeeraba, they know that they'll see me out on the side of the road most weekends. I continued to campaign after I was narrowly defeated in 2006. In fact, I campaigned full time for 2.5 years. So people in the 2009 election knew what I stood for. They knew the things that I'd been fighting for, and they put their trust and their faith in me and elected me in 2009. I promised then that I would continue to do my action posts, as I call them. So it's a mobile office that I take out and about around the electorate at least 10 to 12 times a month. So people are more likely to see me outside the Springbrook General Store or the Benogan General Store, or out the front of Woolworths in Wurrungeree, or out the front of Coles in Mudgeeraba. And I find that people are much more receptive. Constituents will see you on the side of the road and think, oh, now I've got that hooning issue down the road, I'll just pull off and tell Ros about that. So I don't actually have many people come and see me in my office because they know that I'm out and about in the electorate. You always been a people person? Always, and I don't think you could be a nurse without it.
Absolutely.
And I think one of the things that I bring to politics is my ability to listen, and the caring that has come from 30 years of nursing, and so I think constituents can see that, and once they find out that you're a nurse who happens to be in politics, then they really start to open up and tell you a lot of things that they may not normally have done.
What do your kids think about not just your career in politics, but politics in general? Are they generally supportive of what you do? Do they you find them sitting back watching what you're doing, and where do their politics lie?
Obviously they're all very conservative. My children have been my greatest support in politics, particularly my older son Ben. Ben stood on sides of roads and on roundabouts with me and inhaled car fumes around roundabouts from when he was 17. In fact, when I was running in 2006, he was doing his year 12. He was school captain, yet he would get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, put my A-frames around a roundabout because it was too dangerous to do after 7 o'clock in the morning, and then he'd stand there with me for an hour and a half, with waving at people driving past or handing pamphlets out, and then he'd go to school. So
you see a career in politics for them, maybe further down the track? I mean, what do your kids do? I know one of your children's in the army.
Okay, no, my oldest son's actually an advisor in government in New South Wales. That's the one that probably should go into politics, but he's quite happy to be the support person for me in the background. My second son, Greg, probably not as keen on the politics as the older son, but again knows how to stand on roundabouts and be booth captain, and I'm incredibly proud proud of him because he's found his niche in life in the Army. He absolutely loves what he does. He took a while to find his niche in life, but now he's found it. I'm just incredibly proud as a mum of him. My daughter lives down in Melbourne, and she's a mini-me, and I can see her going into politics in the future.
Yeah, kind of runs in the family one way or another.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, you're obviously very well connected with your community. I mean, by dint of what you do and the way you go about your business, that's a requirement, and you obviously enjoy that. Are you still able to keep those connections with what defined you previous to your career? And not just in politics, but in business. I mean, you were heavily involved with local footy, living back in Healesville in Victoria. You still get out to see the games? You support the support the Lions, or support the Suns, or you still support your team in Melbourne? Or
I certainly support the Gold Coast Suns, but I'm an avid North Melbourne supporter, although I don't think they call them North Melbourne these days, but I'm originally from Melbourne, and that's what I've always known them as. I'm actually the patron of my AFL team on the Gold Coast, the mighty Carrara Saints, so I certainly go along to their games and support them where I can. I love the game of footy. In fact, I was a trainer for the Healesville Football Club many years ago, so I know how it is to run across a football oval in football boots and in the mud, to get out there to find out that the injury is probably something that you really don't have to deal with and you need to run all the way back again.
But sport in general is a pretty fair leveller, and I think having that involvement and support is pretty good grounding for a prospective politician.
Well, I'm actually patron of 16 of my sporting clubs, so I'm often at their games. I certainly am at all of their presentation nights. I just did all the sign-ons for all the different clubs only a couple of weeks ago, so they're very strong supporters for me as well, which is terrific. I've got a terrific rugby league team, the mighty Mudgeeraba Redbacks, who also I do a lot of work with them as well.
You find you understand the game of rugby league?
I've learnt it.
That's a difficult transition in itself, moving from Victoria to Queensland and not finding that level of footy coverage that you would have been used to, and having rugby league to be the major game.
Now, look, I certainly do understand the game now, and I obviously follow the Titans down on the Gold Coast, and the stadium is in Robina in my electorate, so I do try and get along to the Titans games, but I thought it was interesting, the inaugural match at Metricon Stadium with the Gold Coast Suns playing the Cats, and a lot of the people in the stadium didn't quite understand the game, so I think I got a couple of funny looks when I yelled out "ball."
I remember that day. People looking around going, yeah, there's some footy people here, but there's a lot of people here who are here because they've got the tickets and they've come along for a look. Look, the election's not far away, and you're already extremely busy. Ros, we really thank you for your time, and we wish you good luck over the course of the next couple of weeks, and well, who knows what the future holds.
Well, it's going to be an exciting time. So I think Queenslanders, particularly those in Ashgrove, are going to be in for a busy time over the next couple of weeks.
Well, I mean, you're already doing what, 12 to 15 hour days. I guess you'd be ramping that up to about 18 or 19 hours a day over the next couple of weeks.
Certainly do. It's things like hammering in core flutes on science sites. I'm often doing those sorts of things, and I'm well known for standing on the side of the road with a Ros Bates banner, and I think the difference is that my electorate know it's not just a couple of the young LNP people standing there with a Ros Bates core flute. It's actually Ros Bates.
Confident?
Look, you never take anything for granted. I've worked very hard in my electorate, and I'll continue to do so. My mum, if she was alive today, would tell you that this is a perfect job for me because I should have been born on a soapbox.
We thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
My guest on the program this evening, the member for Mudgeeraba, Ros Bates. My name is Shaun Bindley, and I hope to join you again next week.